Why does it feel safer to be sarcastic than to say what we really mean? I say this all the time, especially online. We joke about everything, but ain't shit funny? Sincerity has somehow turned into this weird social risk. You can't really tell your partner you love them without adding a joke tag at the end. You can't say I miss you without throwing in LOL at the end just to kind of soft land it. Like, God forbid you sound like you actually care. You're more worried about coming off cringe because that, for some reason, is a social death sentence on the internet. We all want to look like we're above it, too cool to care, detached. Because if you never take anything seriously, nothing can hurt you, right? Remember when people used to write letters to each other, like real emotional letters, not just what you're doing or a random meme? Imagine doing that now. I bet you get secondhand embarrassment just thinking about it. And that's the thing. Caring too much has somehow become weird. The moment you show genuine interest in something, someone tells you, yo, relax, it's not that deep. Like depth is somehow embarrassing or thoughtfulness is kind of like suspicious or something. The way people mock curiosity or nuance or anything that requires thinking beyond the surface pisses me off. There's probably a direct correlation between this and the rise of anti-intellectualism, but what do I know? It's easier to roll your eyes than to risk being moved by something. And so we drift further into this shallow middle ground where caring is cringe and passion is overdoing it and everything has to be just vibes or just jokes. But it's not just sincerity we run from. It's any feeling that reminds us that we're human. We do this thing where we pretend not to care even when something's eating us inside, like jealousy. Why do we run from jealousy and hide behind like nonchalance? Why do we act like wanting something or someone makes us weak? Jealousy feels ugly, right? It's one of those emotions that no one wants to admit to. It makes us feel small and insecure. So instead of saying, yeah, that hurt me, that stung a little, we throw on this fake calm, like, nah, it's whatever, or I'm happy for them though, But half the time we're not. Half the time we're swallowing envy and calling it maturity. We post things like, what's meant for me will find me, just to convince ourselves we're okay with not getting what we actually wanted. But it's funny, sometimes we do get what we wanted. We finally catch the thing we've been chasing, the thing we saw would make everything make sense. And somehow it still doesn't feel enough. Why are we so addicted to the chase? Why do we spend months, sometimes years, thinking, obsessing, convincing ourselves that once we get it, we'll finally relax, only to feel empty the moment it's ours? You're in this constant state of anticipation for anticipation's sake, never comfortable with arriving. You've built your whole existence, your whole sense of worth around motion, around being on your way to something, because slowing down feels dangerous. Stillness feels like failure. You tell yourself that being productive is the only time you're allowed to exist. You psych yourself up with all this nonsense about legacy this and purpose that, like it's some noble cause. Why do we even care about legacy anyways? You won't even be around to see your own legend play out. And the truth is, time forgets almost everyone. Your great-grandkids won't know your name, just like you probably don't know your great-grandfathers. Everything we're obsessing over right now, the achievements, the mistakes, the insecurities, they all dissolve eventually. One of my favorite books ever is by Ernest Becker, titled The Denial of Death. In it, it talks about how most of what we do, our ambitions, our dreams, our so-called purpose, is really just a way to distract ourselves from the fact that we're going to die. He refers to these distractions as immortality projects, the things we put ourselves into so we can feel like a part of us will live on after we're gone. But the paradox of these immortality projects, though, is that they both save us and at the same time they enslave us. They give life meaning, sure, but also trap us in this constant anxiety because no matter how much we achieve, there's always the lurking reminder that it's temporary. Speaking of immortality projects, I live in a city where there's constant construction going on. Glass towers piercing into the sky, new projects breaking ground every other week, and yet much of it feels empty. I mean, there are large parts of the city where you've got these tall, fancy buildings with no signs of people. I wonder what that's about. I wonder what happens in like 10 years when the whole real estate bubble busts. Anyways, Why is modern architecture so ugly though? Too many straight lines in a universe that was and is built to have curves. The curves represent the creativity, the imperfection, the randomness. All I see are straight lines and bright fluorescent lights, and it all feels like one of those torture experiments that use sleep deprivation, extremely loud music, and dripping water on your head just to keep you awake. Okay, that's a weird metaphor, I know, but you get my point. There's something about the way everything's built now that just feels flat. It feels soulless. Speaking of emotional flatness, why is "I'm fine" the biggest lie we've all agreed to tell? I get it though. You want to push through whatever you're dealing with without burdening anyone else because you're convinced nobody cares. But if everyone's out here thinking nobody cares, it's no surprise the world feels so lonely. Everyone pretending they are okay just to avoid making anyone uncomfortable. Even when you ask the question, "Hey, how you doing?" you almost always expect the same reply, "I'm fine." It's about being polite and less about truly knowing. It's a script we've all learned to follow. You ask out of courtesy and they answer out of habit, and the whole exchange becomes a performance of empathy instead of the real thing. Nobody wants to risk the awkward silence that comes after an honest answer, so we just keep it surface level, predictable, safe, rehearsed. It's all a performance, isn't it? Like when we act different, when we feel other people's eyes on us. It's like the moment we're being watched, we stop existing naturally and start performing. Our posture changes, our tone shifts, our inner monologue assumes the voices of everyone who's ever judged us. You start hearing imaginary comments in your head, what they might be thinking, what they might say behind your back. How do you stay authentic in all of this? What does it even mean to be authentic in a culture built on digital eyeballs and mass surveillance that in a weird way we voluntarily signed up for? I'll stop here. I don't know why I ask this why question so much. Maybe this is what an existential crisis feels like. Asking questions you never have answers to. I don't even know what I'm going to title this episode. But hey, if you're still listening and you made it this far, you're an absolute legend. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for being here. If you like what you heard, check out the other episodes in the library. And of course, the YouTube channel. Links will be below. Alright, let's go edit this and think of a title and put it out. Till next time, stay free.